And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of our Friday broadcast here on LAB Radio. We call this Making Money Fridays. And we look at what is happening in the world all around us, all towards the aim of concentrating more of your and my hard earned, labor earned dollars into our families. Today's date is Friday, the 27th day of December 2024 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar. Two, as we realign our cultural clock, welcome to the seventh millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIV Radio, LIV TV, here on livinginblack.com. And just getting all of the signals to go through. I think we had everything set up the way it was supposed to be set up. And the Rumble broadcast is, as of right now, not going through, which it should be going through. So here, bear with me. If it doesn't come on right now, then I'm gonna have to switch the streamer over to my Facebook page for those of you on You Now. Bear with me. This is well worth it. And we got a great topic up, Making Money Fridays. We're always doing the best we can to focus on our fiduciary position. Okay, I did get that signal up for the audio. So you are now listening to it. And let me just end that screen share. And we're going to begin another screen share here. And I don't know what happened to Rumble. I thought I took my time and set everything up just the way it was supposed to be set up. But that's okay. We do the best we can with what we got, always seeking to get more so that we can do even better. That's what I'm talking about. So we are live there. And for the Rumble family, something weird happened. Something weird happened. So listen today live on Facebook, and I'll copy that Facebook link right here. And so you can get access to that as well. Here's what we do have on the table for today. Oh, and I'm very happy to to say I got the second book that I said was due for December 2024. I got the second book off to the printer last night. And if you are an Amazon Kindle reader, you will see it in my catalog on Amazon.com. Just go to Amazon.com and you can either type in my name under books and it will show you a list of the books that I have there. But the newest one is called Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6. The subtitle of the book is buried underneath all these desktops. The subtitle of the book is The Untold Story of How the Global Economic and Security Order is Shaping Up for the 21st Century. I'm very proud of this book. And yeah, for some odd reason, it's just not going to play right now. So we're going to go ahead and go forward. Here's what we have on the table for today's broadcast. Today on Making Money Fridays, our segment revisits the high cost burden of chronic and acute diseases for Americans. This results in a national healthcare burden approaching $5 trillion annually. It probably has reached $5 trillion annually as of right now. That it was 4.5 trillion annual U.S. healthcare burden in 2022. In 2023, it reached 4.5 trillion, which had it growing at about 9% annually. So I would imagine, based upon those figures, it would be for 2025, 5.2 to 5.3 trillion dollars US annual healthcare burden. So this results in a national healthcare burden approaching $5 trillion annually, out of pocket expenses averaging over $6,000 annually, and many days lost because of sick workers. Once we understand the cost of being sick and tired, we can create other strategies to maintain much better health spans. Much better health spans. We have lifespan and we have health span. In the United States, the average lifespan is about 79 years. I think it's like 78.7, something like that. Average life expectancy is about 79 years in the United States. But when they calculate health span, that's only 63 years. So according to those statistics, Americans are spending 16% of their life years in sickness, different degrees of sickness, ultimately the end of that being the end of life. That's just absolutely unacceptable. Come on, people. That's unacceptable. It doesn't have to be so, but people don't want to change their habits. They don't want to adopt strict wellness lifestyle policies. They want to keep doing what they're doing. Oh, a little bit won't hurt me. A little bit won't hurt me. Well, what if a little bit of that takes 16%? You say, okay, well, 16%, that means I still have 84%. Glass is more than half full. Okay. But you are one day after the age of 63, you're going to realize the consequences of what you engaged in. Meanwhile, to the contrary, some of us are going the opposite direction. Today is day 7 of the winter solstice detoxification fast. And I'm feeling really, really good. I weighed myself this morning and I have put back on 1.2 pounds since the 5-day water fast. And I'm very comfortable with that. I literally weighed this morning at 145, what I weighed at age 25. My body mass index at 125 is perfect. According to the BMI measurement, it's literally perfect, right in the middle of the green zone, not too low, not too high, perfect. And I want to maintain it like that year after year after year after year. And I want to maintain. See, I'm supposed to be 6 years into my non-healthy lifespan or health span. I'm supposed to be, what? That would put me at from 63, 6 years into this unhealthy period. I'm not going out like that. I refuse, especially when I know it's controllable by lifestyle. So we're going to talk about the exorbitantly high expenses, costs of being sick in America, and especially, need I say it, being the sickest ethnic group inside of the sickest of the most wealthy and developed nations. So here's what I have pulled up for today. I have this document, and also remind you all, we are still engaging in our December fund drive. I want to thank all of you that did hear our plea, our outreach, our explanation of what the critical needs were and why we were, why I was not meeting those needs adequately. And many of you, not a whole lot, I could count it on 2 fingers, but many of you did step up and make a contribution, and it is greatly appreciated. I woke up today and one of our streams, our TuneIn app, LIB Radio is on the TuneIn app. You can take us portable with you anywhere you go. But the stream says, hey, your server's cut off. because we didn't have a payment. And I had to turn it back on today. So we don't want to lose anything. If you find it within your heart, within your consciousness, within your sense of Kujichagulia, which is today the second day of Kwanzaa, that's the principle, self-determination, to define ourselves, to think for ourselves, to name ourselves, to create our own pathway into the future. If you feel Kujichagulia along with your brother, then you will be motivated to give as best as you can. You don't always have to just give in money. Someone out there, a bunch of you out there, could just spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Take 1 month and spread the word. We have this vehicle. I'm going to show you today why you have invested in LIV Radio, why it's worthy of other people knowing what you and I study. So let's go into this, the shocking cost, annual cost of being sick in America. Our Making Money Friday revisits this high cost burden of chronic and acute diseases, especially on our living in Black family. A national healthcare burden that has, according to all estimates, breached $5 trillion annually, by far the most that any nation has ever paid. It's about 17 to 18% of the gross domestic product of the United States. Just goes on trying to maintain a healthy population that's getting sicker. And average out of pocket expenses over $6,000 annually out of pocket. And that's 5 times higher for older and chronically diseased people. So that average of 6,000 weighs the fact that it should only be about 1,200. But for some other people, it's much, much higher. I asked several of the search engines, I use AI search engines quite a bit. What is the annual cost of burden of disease for all Blacks in the United States? The best answer I could get, because the AI search engines don't like to answer ethnic specific questions, but I know the literature's out there, the data's out there, because I find it. I've been finding it for years. I'm just trying to just get the AI to go find what I've been able to find for years. And the best estimate for Blacks in the United States is $525.37 billion annual health burden cost for Blacks in the United States. That doesn't take into account, and that figure is probably between 2018 and 2022. And there has been a 3.1% annual year-on-year increase in medical inflation. Some years it's been much higher than that. So therefore, that 525 might be increased about 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, or 7 times at 3.1% annually. That's compound interest. I asked of Copilot, was the annual cost of disease burden for Blacks? Based on the provided search results, there is no single estimate of the annual cost of the burden of disease for all Blacks in the US. I just gave it to you. So AI, this one says, doesn't exist. The burden of disease associated with being African American in the US and the contribution to socioeconomic status to that burden was estimated to result in 67,000 more deaths annually, with 2.2 million years of life lost and 1.1 million years after socioeconomic status adjustment. This source, the burden of disease associated with being African American in the United States and the contribution of socioeconomic status, from the journal Science Direct. Again, 67,000 more deaths above our representation as a proportion of the population. Now, in my book, this number 67,000 increased death burden, kind of resembles a figure that I put in the book, Living Super in Paradise, when we talked about iatrogenics, death by doctor or death by medicine. And according to the number I put in that book, and it was a conservative estimate, that the number of blacks in America who died prematurely because of encounter with the healthcare system, I put it at 170,000 deaths annually. And for all Americans, it was 1,069,000. I think that was the number. It might have been 159, but I think it was 1,069,000 dying prematurely because of iatrogenics, death by medicine. So many people are out here advocating, well, we just need better health care coverage. We need just better health care access, better health care insurance. No, no, no. That's not proven to lower the death risk, because you get better access to health care and they will kill more with adverse drug reactions, medical errors in hospitalized situations, medical errors in non-hospitalized situations, unnecessary surgeries, wrongful diagnosis, misdiagnosis, bed sores, or pressure ulcers, as they're called in hospitals. So listen, people, your best bet is to stay out of that system. The best way for you to stay out of that system is to create a lifestyle that lowers your disease risk burden all across the board. And I'm talking about significantly lower your risk of cardiovascular disease, significantly lower your risk of cancer, diabetes, hypertension, strokes, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, obesity and overweight related diseases. There's some 32 of those, 33 of them. Lower your risk of acute disease as well by keeping up an anti-inflammatory nutritional protocol. We know what we're doing. We know how to do it. I saw a picture. I study. And so as I'm assembling all this research and doing the artwork, and my morning is awesome. Plus, the new book is went off to the printer last night about midnight. So it was a late night. It was a very satisfying late night, not like those 3 a.m., 4 a.m. nights I used to do when trying to get the book off to the printer. So, but as I was watching a video today, and it was a great video from University of San Diego and their stem cell research unit. And I was watching two of their presenters. And the first guy, especially, his presentation was blazing. It was compelling. It was wonderful. And here's the thing is I've been studying stem cells very intensely now for the last couple of months. So I know a whole lot about stem cells. I know a whole lot about it. And as I was listening to his presentation, I'm saying, man, this is just awesome. He had some wonderful PowerPoint artwork for his presentation. It was concise. It was precise. It did break new ground that I had not heard about, but it made sense. And the thing is I probably was quite familiar with, I would say, about 90%, maybe 95% of what he was saying. And then at one point, I'm going to show you this. What he showed one of his panels near the end of his PowerPoint presentation, which I saved that one to my folder. I'm definitely going to be watching that again. But at one point, he showed his team. Again, he was at University of San Diego. So he showed his team. Let me just show you his team, what his team looked like that put this together. And enough respect, much respect for having a team to work on something so very important. So I want you to check this out. This is the team that he showed that had helped him to assemble what it was that he was demonstrating. This was his team. This is the University of San Diego, the Stanford Stem Cell Institute, and the Moores Cancer Center at the University of San Diego. And here are all of the contributors to it. National Institutes of Health, and I don't know what NIDDK stands for, the National Cancer Institute, National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, the Mark Foundation. Here, let me blow this up just a little bit so I can see a little better. The Mark Foundation of Cancer Research. No, go back. Don't go back. Don't go to bananas, green bananas. It's part of our stem cell protocol. He talked about the Mark Foundation for Cancer Research, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, Paul G. Allen Frontier Group, American Cancer Society, American Society of Hematology, CureBound, and the V Foundation. All of these collaborators, contributors to what was a wonderful PowerPoint presentation. The thing about it is, people, I could have gone up on that stage and given the same PowerPoint presentation. I could have gone up on that stage and given one, if not the exact same one, because his experiences are obviously distinct from mine, but I could have given one on all of the points that he made. And I could have given one on one substantial field that he didn't even mention. So my substantial field was how to do all of this without medical intervention. Some of those people in the funding on the right-hand side that sponsored this organization and sponsored this research, some of those people would not have wanted me around because they want to make money off of that. I'm not going to blame them for wanting to make money, make an income. But here's the thing. And the presenter is in here. He's on the right-hand side in the back, behind the two ladies. And he did an excellent job. He really did. But look at how many grad students he has working with him to put this together. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 grad students plus this professor. Am I mad at him? Am I mad at them? No. Maybe I'm mad at myself because I'm not there with them, that I'm not the professor in that classroom. Maybe I'm mad because my people are ignoring me and my research goes beyond theirs. The new book, I'm focusing on it right now, called The Stem Cell Revolution, a holistic approach to stem cell activation, proliferation, and differentiation for optimal health and longevity. And today is the 27th day that I've been on this 56-day natural protocol, using nutrition, using food, using sleep. And I got to get caught back up with my sleep. Since finishing 2 books this month, my sleep patterns have not been optimized. And the protocol is to optimize the sleep patterns. So I recognize that. But no alcohol, no weed, other than the disruption of Christmas Day when I had to do a radio interview very early in the morning. My exercise has been very consistent. And just as of today, my exercise regime is snap right back on target for this 56-day protocol. Yesterday, my first set of push-ups was 300. The second set was 225. 525 push-ups. 169-year young man, 525 push-ups in 2 sets. And I'm not talking about a set is not 10, take a break, 10, take a break. No, that's not a set. A set to me is you start pushing them and then you stop when you reach your goal. For me, yesterday, the first goal was 300. The second goal was 225. It's not easy. The hardest part about it is just psyching myself up. Go ahead and start it. It takes me a few minutes to get started on doing this. So what we are talking about, people, cutting this high burden of costs of healthcare, being sick, sickness maintenance is what it is. It's not really healthcare. It's sickness maintenance. Can we come up with specific strategies to cut this high burden? Yes, beyond a shadow of a doubt. No doubt whatsoever. If you want to cut your burden, out of pocket expenses on chronic disease, you got my number. If you've never texted me and asked for, or go to coachkeaty.com and ask for a free 15-minute consult, then it's not on me if you won't try. I'm not going to beat you up over that. But let's consider that, yes, we can do better. Yes, we can do better. And for some odd reason, yeah, I didn't hit all of the right buttons. I thought I did, but stuff happens. So let us continue. We are today talking about health. Can't help ourselves. And those beautiful young people, it looks like the majority of them ethnicity is Asians. It looks like the ones in the front are almost all Asians, and in the back, Asians and Caucasians. But I'm not taking anything away from this group of people. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the young people. Annual cost of burden for disease. The burden of disease associated with being African American in the U.S. and the contribution of socioeconomic status to that burden was estimated to result in 67,000 more deaths annually, with 2.2 million years of life lost and 1.1 million years after socioeconomic status adjustment. Cardiovascular disease is a significant contributor to the burden of disease among Blacks in the U.S. According to the American Heart Association, cardiovascular disease costs will exceed $1 trillion by 2035, with Black Americans expected to have the highest rates of cardiovascular disease by 2035. Chronic diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and cancer, have a significant economic burden. The estimated cost of chronic disease is expected to reach $47 trillion worldwide by 2030. The source of that, the burden of chronic disease, PMC. While these estimates do not provide a direct annual cost of the burden of disease for all Blacks in the U.S., we can make some inferences. Point: the estimated annual cost of cardiovascular disease the estimated cost of cardiovascular disease is $254 billion. Point: the total economic cost of rare diseases in the U.S. in 2019 was estimated to be $997 billion. And they have sources for these in case you want references. Cardiovascular disease is a significant contributor to the burden of diseases among Blacks in the U.S., and its costs are projected to increase significantly by 2035. Well, according to what I was seeing today, the annual increase in cost of diseases in the United States was 3.1%. So between 2025, the beginning of 2025, and 2035, we have, that's 10 years of 3.1% cumulative cost increase. So therefore, it's going to probably at least double. Considering these estimates, it's likely that the annual cost of the burden of disease for all Blacks in the U.S. is a substantial portion of the total economic burden of chronic diseases and cardiovascular disease in the United States. It's disproportionately high. However, without a specific estimate, it is difficult to provide an exact figure. I gave you an exact figure earlier, which because I'm just a little more persistent than that AI search was. And that estimate for 2022 was $525.37 billion annually. And then it would be rising at 3.1% annually from there. I did do some calculations today. Let me see what these calculations were. Oh, I was calculating the total U.S. What was this number? 451. I'll see it in the notes here, what I have here today. I had to calculate it from 2018 forward. So going forward, to approximate the annual cost, we can use the following rough estimates. Assuming that the burden of disease among Blacks in the U.S. is approximately 12% of the total U.S. population, and that's not true. It's over 14%. I think it's 14.6% of the total U.S. population. When they take Blacks from Panama, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and remove them from our category as people of African descent and put them into a nebulous burden called Hispanic. Well, I want them back. Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, Costa Rica, Honduras, Panama, Colombia. If you are living in the United States and you are of African ancestry, please accept my invitation to consider ourselves family. Families sometimes have disputes. Sometimes families get into arguments instigated by others who want to keep that family broken up, separated. But if we have the choice to claim at least 14 million people in the United States as Afro-Latinos, Afro being the key word, then let's put this family together and make it functional, not just have numbers. Let's do something significant with those numbers. The estimated annual cost of cardiovascular disease, $254 billion. As a proxy for the burden of chronic diseases, we can estimate the annual cost of the burden of disease for all Blacks in the United States as follows. Annual cost of CVD for Blacks in the U.S. equals 12%, 14.6% of 254 trillion equals 30.5 billion. So instead of 30.5, it's probably closer to 34. Please note that this is a very rough estimate and should be treated with caution. I agree. A more accurate estimate would require detailed analysis of the specific burden of disease among Blacks in the U.S., including the prevalence and cost of various conditions, as well as the contribution of socioeconomic factors. I asked the same question of another AI search engine. Brave shared with me the annual cost of disease burden for Blacks. Here's what Brave had to say. Based on provided search results, there is no single estimate of the annual cost of the burden of disease for all Blacks in the U.S. However, we can extract relevant information from the snippets. And that's what we have to do when we're doing these type of data. Grab snippets and make some sense out of it. It's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. Exactly like that. And I say to each and every one of you, greetings to those of you in our various families. It's an honor, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today. To the very best of our abilities, we're going to do the best that we can to let you know how much you are appreciated. Here's what Brave had to return. The burden of disease associated with being African American in the U.S. and the contribution of socioeconomic status, SES, to that burden was estimated to result in 67,000 more deaths annually, with 2.2 million years of life lost and 1.1 million years after socioeconomic status adjustment. This is almost exactly the same as one before. Cardiovascular disease is a significant contributor to the burden of disease among Blacks in the U.S. According to the American Heart Association, CVD costs will exceed $1 trillion by 2035, with Black Americans expected to have the highest rates of cardiovascular disease by 2035. Point: chronic diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and cancer, have significant economic burden. In fact, this AI search engine looks exactly like the previous one. So there's no need for me to have to keep going through this. Let me see. While these estimates do not provide a direct annual cost, we can make some inferences. And yeah, it was exactly the same. There's no need for me to even go through that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to another document that I was writing on today. I'm kind of odd. Yes, I am kind of odd in that before I finish writing a book, I become kind of compelled, almost obsessed with a new subject, a new title. Mainly because while I'm writing one book, I start getting into details and I find out one particular detail is absolutely fascinating, such was the case when I was writing the book, which came out 2 weeks ago. And I'm still waiting for the copies to come from the printer. The printer is Amazon's. For those of you patiently waiting for your book, Amazon workers went on strike. Now, they didn't really announce to the public the disruption, but they put a 2-week delay in my books being coming back from the printer, and it could be even more than that. They'll send me out a single copy, but insofar as the bulk copies that is a printer I really want, print on demand, they got hung up. So I don't feel the need to apologize for Amazon being so cruel to its workers that they have to go on strike, that they feel compelled to have to fight back against the evil corporation. I'm in empathy. I'm in sympathy with those workers. But would you finish my books first? And the workers say, no, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. And I understand. So bear with me, everybody. Your autographed copy of Living Superfood Solutions, Dietary Strategies that Prevent and Reverse Common Chronic Diseases, your autographed copy is going to come. And hopefully Amazon will settle with its hard-working workers. We see them, Amazon people, they work so hard. They work so hard, they've gotten so busy they can't even ring the doorbell. They'll set the package right there next to the doorbell and won't ring the doorbell. Figure that out. Here's what I was writing today. Researching and writing and copying and pasting, combination of the other. I'm in the book, What Are We Going to Do with Christmas? What are we going to do with Xmas? And I have this section of the book called The New Era of the Robber Barons, the Gilded Age. And the subtitle here is World War V. So this overlaps with a book just went to the printer last night. Disaster Preparedness for World Wars V and VI. This subchapter is entitled World War V. People are drawing parallels between the current economic landscape in the US and UK and the Gilded Age, the late 19th century, due to the following reasons. Point one, rising income inequality. The Gilded Age was marked by extreme wealth disparities, with a small elite controlling a vast majority of the wealth. Similarly, modern day income inequality has increased, with the top 1% holding an increasingly large share of the wealth. This echoes the concerns of the original robber barons who amassed fortunes through questionable business practices and exploitation of workers. Point 2, similarities between the Gilded Age and today, World War V. The concentration of wealth. The Gilded Age saw the rise of industrial tycoons and financiers who accumulated vast fortunes through monopolies and corporate consolidation. Today, a similar trend is observed with tech moguls, financiers, and corporate leaders accumulating enormous wealth, often through questionable means such as tax avoidance and exploitation of workers. I was watching a piece of video. I'm trying to remember. It was one of the talk show comedians. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. And I was watching, and he did a program here very recently where he mentioned about the man arrested and charged with assassinating Brian Thompson, the CEO of Healthcare United Healthcare. And as the talk show host goes into his joke to talk about the man, Luigi Mangione, accused of the shooting, as soon as he mentioned Luigi Mangione's name, the audience burst out in applause and cheered. And it sounded like the audience was pretty much young people. And that kind of fits the profile of what's happening. And there's been one other comedian, I can't remember his name. He's fairly new. He's actually a very good young comedian. And he's like a young version. If you blended Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, and George Carlin, and Bill Burr to some extent, where they're social critics, and put them into a young, youthful, young, handsome young brother. This guy, he's got a career if the oligarchy doesn't derail it. He's got a great career. He's really, really good. And I just like this comedy. I'll have to play him someday or turn more people onto him. I wish I had his name. I actually could find his name, but I don't want to distract myself, go look through YouTube history and find out who is this young man. But the audience cheered when they heard the name Luigi Mangione. I'm not going to be cheering murders, assassinations, but I am not going to tell anyone not to cheer when they perceive that these CEO corporations in these healthcare industries are the new Gilded Age robber barons. And remember, at the beginning of World War I, and I'm saying today, this is evidence of World War V. At the beginning of World War I, it begins with the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand of the Austro-Hungarian Empire by what nationality was he? He was from Slavic, I think he was Slavic nationalist who busted a cap on him, and that began the Great War, now known as World War I. So it's a precarious position. We're talking about concentration of wealth. Number 3, lack of regulation. How these robber barons are getting over lack of regulation. During the Gilded Age, lax regulation and corruption enabled the robber barons to operate with impunity. Similarly, critics argue that modern day regulatory failures and political capture by wealthy interests have allowed contemporary corporate leaders to engage in similar practices, perpetuating contemptible inequality. Contemptible inequality. And that's what the people are just so angry about, that they would cheer that someone was murdered on the streets of Manhattan. Number 4, philanthropy and social status. The Gilded Age saw wealthy industrialists and financiers using their philanthropy to dominate their social, to demonstrate, not dominate, to demonstrate their social status and justify their wealth. Today, some billionaires like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are using their philanthropy to promote themselves as do-gooders, while others are criticized for using their charitable giving as a means to maintain their social standing and influence. Point 5, critique of capitalism. The Gilded Age was marked by a growing critique of capitalism, with some arguing that it was incompatible with democracy, and social justice, I'll repeat. The Gilded Age was marked by a growing critique of capitalism, with some arguing that it was incompatible with democracy and social justice. Similarly, contemporary critics of modern capitalism argue that it has become distorted and the wealthy few exploiting the many, and that reforms are needed to address the resulting inequality and social unrest. This could have been, well, actually, this is not these exact same passages, but that's much of the core of the book, Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6. And all of this I'm speaking about right now is World War 5, the global elites, corporate elite versus the workers' middle class. Next point, by drawing parallels between the Gilded Age and modern day economic conditions, critics aim to highlight the persistence of these issues and the need for meaningful reforms to address wealth and income inequality. And that's probably the main reason that Kamala Harris's presidency was rejected. And she was rejected. I mean, she was seriously rejected. Anybody who put all that loyalty and gave money to Kamala Harris, you don't have no shame at all. You have no guilt at all. The fact that she couldn't get it, she just disappears. Now, that forced Joe Biden to get healthy again and become president again. This is clownish. I'm not a Trump supporter, never have been, and I could never imagine being a supporter of Donald Trump. But like, you guys deserved all of this. You earned it. Both the right wing earned Trump, idiot in chief, and the left wing earned Trump, which was a foot up your butt. The richest man, here's the next subchapter of this book I'm writing. This book is titled, What Are We Going to Do with Christmas? And before I go into what we are going to do with Christmas, I keep a tally every year of how much money is spent in the bubble, which is the increased spending for the holiday season. There are 2 holiday seasons. One is 80 days long. It begins before Halloween and ends in the middle of January. That's 80 days long. And then there is the months of November and December, November 1 through January 1. I focus a lot more on those 61 days from November 1 to January 1. And according to my calculations, and they're pretty doggone good, African Americans are expected to be spending an average of $1,117,000,000 a day for 61 days. That's a lot of money. And that represents only 7% of what the nation is spending. That's a lot of money. Especially for Afro-Americans, it's a lot of money to be spending and not really have much of job creating infrastructure, employment and payroll creating infrastructure to show for all of that spending. That's a lot of money for ho, 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 ho. I'll leave it at that. The richest men in the world own everything or want to. Introduction to the 2024 top 10 wealthiest men in the world. The list of the top 10 wealthiest men in the world in 2024 is dominated by individuals from the United States, with a few exceptions. These nationalities and ethnicities of these individuals are diverse. They're not diverse, reflecting the global nature of wealth and entrepreneurship. Not that diverse. Here he goes, the top 10. You ready for this? Number 1, Elon Musk. South African-born, Canadian and American nationality, white ethnicity. Number 2, Larry Ellison. American nationality, Jewish ethnicity. Jeff Bezos. American nationality, white ethnicity. Number 4, Mark Zuckerberg. American nationality, Jewish ethnicity. Number 5, Bernard Arnault. French nationality, white ethnicity. Number 6, Warren Buffett. American nationality, white ethnicity. Number 7, Larry Page. American nationality, white ethnicity. Sergey Brin. Russian-born, American nationality, Jewish ethnicity. Jensen Huang. Taiwanese-born, American nationality, Asian ethnicity. And Amancio Ortega. Spanish nationality, white ethnicity. So we can see they are all whites and Jews, except for one Asian, Jensen Huang, made that top 10 list of the world's wealthiest people. I wish I had an open forum. I hear what 2 out of every 5 people on the planet are of African heritage. I'm pretty sure that's it here. Let me just real quickly calculate. I have my calculator up on my desktop. Planet's 8.1 billion divided by 1.75 billion means more than 2. 1 out of every 4.628 people on the planet is of African heritage. But in that top 10 list of the world's wealthiest people, we didn't seem to manage that. We should have been at least 2 on that name if income and wealth distribution for every human being on the planet was balanced out. But it's not. And we're not going to pray it into position. We're not going to wish it into position. I'm not going to scream and cajole it into position. We're going to put together a plan. That is our intention. Corporations are people too, right? Let's introduce you to this idea of corporate personhood. Corporate personhood refers to the legal notion that a corporation, separately from its associated human beings, has at least some of the legal rights and responsibilities enjoyed by natural persons. This concept has been applied to corporations in most countries, granting them the same rights as natural persons to hold property, enter into contracts, and to sue or be sued. But this has led to other circumstances, including environmental degradation. The concept of corporate personhood can lead to environmental degradation as corporations prioritize profits over sustainability and environmental protection. This can result in pollution, climate change, and the exploitation of natural resources, ultimately harming the environment and human health. And I would say also exploitation of natural and human resources. Point two, economic inequality. Corporate personhood can also contribute to economic inequality as corporations focus on maximizing profits for their shareholders, often at the expense of their employees and the wider community. This can lead to low wages, poor working conditions, and a lack of benefits for employees, exacerbating economic equality. Remember, Jeff Bezos was on that list of the 10 wealthiest. He was number 3, American nationality, white ethnicity. And right now, significant Amazon workers are striking. Significant numbers of workers are striking because of just the way Jeff Bezos machine, Amazon corporate machine, treats them like absolute crap. These are human beings. Yeah, we want Amazon products, purchases. We want them quick. We want them cheap. But Amazon has destroyed many, many businesses across the country, wiping out small, medium-sized enterprises. They either join the machine and give up a percentage of your profits or go out of business. That sounds like the mafia, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound like what organized crime did to many mom and pops businesses in the cities across America? Extortion racket. But now it's legal because corporate personhood. Undue influence in politics. The legal rights granted to corporations under corporate personhood can also lead to undue influence in politics, as corporations use their wealth and resources to lobby for policies that benefit their interests rather than the public good. This results in policies that favor corporate profits over social welfare and environmental protection. Just look at the Food and Drug Administration. Just look at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Just look at the National Institutes of Health, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and don't even think about trying to make an argument that these corporations are not exploiting these agencies for their profit at the detriment of the health of the public. Don't even go there. I'm not going to allow you to make yourself look like a fool. Of course, you're not talking to me anyway, so it doesn't matter, huh? We continue. Social injustice. Furthermore, corporate personhood can perpetuate social injustice as corporations prioritize their interests over the well-being of marginalized communities. This can lead to the displacement of local communities, the exploitation of workers, and the perpetuation of systemic inequalities, let alone what the corporations are doing to childbearing age women, making them come to a decision to bear children at all, driving the cost of daycare for women in the workforce up so high that it's almost to the point where half or more of the average woman's paycheck is just spent for not being home with taking care of the baby. Oh, this is really, really bad shape, people. It's really bad shape. Can we do better than this? I think we can, but we got to have a plan. Lack of accountability. The concept of corporate personhood can also make it difficult to hold corporations accountable for their actions, as they are often able to avoid liability for their wrongdoing. United Healthcare CEO Mark Thompson took 2 to the back. They are often able to avoid liability for their wrongdoing by hiding behind their legal status as a separate entity from their individual members. This can lead to a lack of transparency and accountability, allowing corporations to act with impunity. Pow, pow. Luigi Mangione may have changed the dynamic there. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to stick around to find out how low will this battle between the corporate elite class and the workers middle class. I don't necessarily want to stick around to see this. We did talk just a couple of days ago about the wealthy building bolt holes, preparing to escape the Armageddon, the breakdown, total breakdown. I see you in the house, Brother Ronan. I see you in the house. He writes, Baba, that's how one stays in debt. Yeah, we're talking about this, all this consumption. Let me see if I missed any comments. All right. He says, salute, Kitty, my Baba. That's how one stays in debt. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. It's consumerism without consciousness. Perfect capitalism is slavery. Kitty, as long as you get it right. With an exclamation point. Hey, I started a charity here in the Philippines. I started a week ago. Congratulations. Keep us abreast. Keep me abreast. Email me. Let's stay in contact, Brother Ronan. Email me at kitty@chefkitty.com and let's catch up. Great to have you in the house, Brother Ronan. And anybody else out there tuning in, make sure you hit the like button wherever you are streaming us at. If you are on Facebook, we're live on Facebook today. If you are live on LinkedIn, we are live on LinkedIn. And if you are live, oh, that was what I did. I hit LinkedIn instead of Rumble. I didn't mean to do that. Very, very few people listen to us on LinkedIn, and even then they don't really participate. I'm not going to beat myself up, but pay attention next time. Yeah, I should have hit the Rumble stream. I can only, on the service that I have with StreamYard, I can only send to 3 destinations. I'll do Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. I have the second YouTube page. The first one got canceled. But if I'm dealing with health related issues, most time I'll skip YouTube because YouTube is particularly nasty about calling out people for what they call misinformation, but what many of us call peer review science information, research. That's just the way it is. That's what World War V is. They will declare your truths to be myths and their truths to be unchallengeable. So that was what I did wrong. I didn't even send a signal to Rumble. So there's no need even trying to find anything on Rumble that's there. I can just go ahead and end that live stream because it wasn't going out. So that was what the problem was. So wherever you are, wherever you're listening to us from, do hit the like button and tell the algorithm this is a good place for me to be hanging out with Brother Kitty. Brother Kitty, you look a little weary. Look a little weary because 2 books to the printers in 1 month, that's a tough month. Now, I did 6 in the first 6 months of 2023. I actually did it in a 90-day period. So that was a little bit tough. I don't remember what I looked like, but I bet I looked a little beat up. And here we are. I bet I looked a little beat up. Okay. Well, we got a few people tuning in, and Brother Ronan is talking to me today. Great to have you with us today, man. I appreciate, love you. And congratulations on making it to the Philippines. Oh, my. We need to hear about that. So that kind of brings us to the end of the research that I was putting together for today. The book And I wanted to have this book out by mid 2024, but I deprioritized the book. I have several books. I have this book, What Are We Going to Do with Xmas? I actually did the cover artwork. Sometimes that helps me to get motivated to get deeper into the book if I have a picture of what the book is going to look like. Plus, I may look at the book over the course of 6 months, the cover, and say, yeah, I can do a little better than that, and I can alter it. Another book that I was preparing to release, I still haven't committed to a release date, The Rebirth of Love, Repairing the Black Family and Community. I know the book is critically necessary, but there's not a lot of love for Black love right now. There's not a lot of love for the idea of regenerating family and putting couples together. The dissolution of the nuclear family is it's bad, but it's getting worse at an ever more rapid rate. It's an exponential curve, the degeneration of the Black family. I wrote the book, Fade to Black, the passing of a great race. And this is core to that, the dissolution of the basic unit of family. Another book, I am going to prioritize this book. It's called A Year Against Cancer. Another book I have ready, The Queer Agenda, which talks about the global Glibbit plan to take over as much of society as they possibly can in league with feminism. I say feminism kind of gave the Glibbit community its foundation, its uplift, because feminism likes to divide the larger society. And with promoting Glibbit, the feminists could carve about 7% of the men off the men category. There's another couple of books I had prioritized in there, but those are just some of the main ones. And then I still kind of want to go back and grab a couple of my old books that are out of print and bring them back into print. But that may not be a high priority. That may be mainly for my vanity. I could always just make 1 or 2 copies of it and just put it on the shelf, but not even worry about promoting it. Ollie Elder, yo Kitty, guess who turned in today? My brother from another mother, brother Ollie. I'm not going to start talking about you too much, brother Ollie, but for those of you in our listening audience, if you've ever had a friend who went way beyond being a friend, Ollie's guilty. He's guilty. He was not my right hand man. He was my right hand, my left hand. He was one of these two hands for 25, 30 years. We played together. Ollie played music together. The most reliable musician I ever worked with. Most reliable. If Ollie said he was going to be there, Ollie was there. Very rarely did I ever have to play left-hand bass, which I don't like playing left-hand bass. Very rarely. And I don't think it was ever due to Ollie's fault. But Ollie, I love you, man. You're a good brother. He said, partners in crime forever. I thought it said grime when I first looked. Yeah, you and me, brother. Against the world? No, for the world. Brother Ronan in the house. Is cleansing and fasting in cold weather, is it risky? No, not cleansing and fasting in cold weather. Cleansing and fasting is good at all times. Right now, we're doing the stem cell protocol that happens to be in cold weather. The last time I did it was in the spring. And it's working just wonderfully now. We are doing more soups at this time of the year. And soups are a good thing. But no, you want to make sure that that level of nutrition is high. You want to make sure that your body is so clean, so crystal clean. Right now, I'm on my 3rd day of colon cleansing. I did what? 1, 2, 3, 4 full days of water fasting. Then on the 5th day, I switched to colon cleansing. 6th day, continued that. And today is another day using Herbal Guard Parasite Cleanse and using Cascara Sagrada, my favorite herbal laxative. So I'm having a wonderful time. Body so fresh and so clean. I'm not going to go into details, but that's why I detox 4 times a year for 20 years now. Awesome. And Bronan says, love you too, Kitty, man. I got nothing but mad love for all of you. You're great supporters. You are. Kitty, you possibly saved my life with your workshop back in the 1990s. How's your hip hop conspiracy book hitting? The Rap Hip Hop in the New World Order. The book, it doesn't sell a lot. At one point, that was my largest selling book. It doesn't sell a lot now. But I tell you, though, as you know, Brother Ronan, when you take that book out and you look at what is happening today, look at how this Long Beach young man, Calvin Broadus, who was involved in street gang activity, has become one of the most prominent Black voices in capitalist promotion advertising in America. He's all over the football leagues. He was all over the Olympics. He's all over all kind of commercials and food and interacting with and even surpassing comedians, very well-known comedians. Of course, they're all, in these secret societies. And in the book, Rap, Hip Hop, and a New World Order, I did the best I could to point out in this chapter called the 666 Thugsters that we were seeing evidence that these guys were being recruited into these illuminated circles of initiates, whether they be Satanists. Eazy-E called themselves the devil's MF and son-in-law, 666 Thugster. That's where that term came from. There was Bone Thugs and Harmony. There was the Luciferians. Now, that book was way ahead of its time. If you were to have read that book, Rap, Hip Hop, and the New World Order, back in 1997 when it came out, and it was based upon essays from 1993 or so, especially the Trojan horse analysis, you would have seen me lay forward evidence that this guy, Snoop Doggy Dogg, was being set up as the Antichrist, a Luciferian. And I showed you photographs and pictures, and we dissected that video. Murder was the case. Why is he now the most prominent African-American young man? He's not that young anymore. He's old enough to be a grandfather. I don't know if he is. But why is he the #1 promotion? I'll be honest with you, Brother Rowe. When Calvin Broadus, aka Snoop Dogg, comes on a TV commercial, I immediately either turn it off or mute the sound. I turn it off or mute the sound. I've met the guy before. Met him in person in his house in Diamond Bar, California. Was working for them. They wanted me to do something, but what they wanted me to do was so foul, and getting paid $400 an hour. And what they wanted me to do was so foul, I couldn't do it. I froze up. I locked up. They wanted me to create a radio station, which at that time I had LIB Radio. And they wanted me to create a version, functional version like LIB Radio for them to do their thing. What they call it, the church. The church. And Snoop's cousin, whose name I can't remember right now, had contacted one of my friends who I had taught to do web design, to do the web design for their church. And he said it was over his head, so he put them on to me. And so I went out there and I met the guy who was running the office over there. It was kind of a loose configuration of an office. It was kind of like a hangout house. That's a whole nother set of stories. I didn't hang out there. I was there to work. I'd get in there early in the day. For me, an early work day is 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at the latest. And they'd be just starting to get up and stagger around the house. Many of these young girls staggering around the house still wearing their midnight clothes. So, but I met Snoop. I'm not going to tell any more of that story. Not today. Brother Ronan, he said, you possibly saved my life with your workshop back in the 1990s. Man, that's quite an honor. He said, how's your hip hop book? Ali, salute. That's how futuristic you are. That's your trajectory. I receive your kind words, Brother Ronan, in the spirit that you salute, that you share them. That's very, very kind. To you, my brother Ali, love to you, love to your family, love to your child. He's got one son who's just a classy young guy. And Ali, you're one of the smartest people I ever met in life. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being there to help me guide myself. And doggone it, let's get together and do it again as soon as we possibly can. Let's maybe put together a reunion gig for our group. That would be absolutely honorable. I mean, in fact, not just for our group, for the extended group. If I go back to California and put together a reunion gig, I might have to have 20 musicians on that stage. But Ali, you know, you gotta be there beside me. That's what I'm talking about. Couchman and Caetano and Ali both played the same instrument, so they didn't necessarily play together, but overlapped. And so many others. Brother Paul, Tony Chin. Ah, that's my family there. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because obviously I'm distracted by what's happening right now. It is a joy to be in service of a good people. I'm asking that you, our good people, help us support LIB Radio. For this month of December, we had to reach out. We had to. Couldn't just let it just fall apart. Couldn't have it pull me and my family down with it. Just trying to keep something open that we regard to be an irrefutable tradition, to have our own People's Academy, the People's Voice. Look at the level of research that we do. Where else did you get statistics on how much African Americans are spending every day during the month of November and December on the holiday shopping bubble? Where else did you get the figures that the United States national health care budget is now, as of 2025, 5.25 trillion dollars. That's for a population base of around 342 million. 525, let me get that decimal place in there. $5.25 trillion. That's over 17% of GDP. They're not even telling you that on NPR. And where else you'll get this phenomenal information that's going into the upcoming book. Ali, Ronan, you both got to get this new book, Stem Cell Revolution. This is the fountain of youth. I promise you, this is the fountain of youth. This is it. I've been talking about the fountain of youth for years. I put it on the back cover of Living Superfood Recipes Volume 1. This is the fountain of youth. And now we've gotten ever more clear of how it is, the structure and the function of it as it works on the cellular level. But I showed you the picture of the team at UC San Diego, and you saw the long, long list of corporations backing them. And I'm not going to say my research is better than theirs. It does go off into a field that they do not touch, and that is how we can do all of that without having to draw blood, having to inject ourselves, how to do all of this stem cell rejuvenation, regeneration, using the body's own internal processes, which is why I'm detox fasting, why I'm cleansing myself for the 4th time this year for 28 days. Why we do intermittent fasting. I think I'm on intermittent fasting for the rest of my life. confining all my eating hours of the day down to a 6-hour window. I'm going to try and stick with that. It doesn't have to be absolute. If I can do that 6 days a week, that's myriad better than what everyone else is doing. Ali Elder says, oh, Ronan, golden sales. He said, can I sell you on the text number? Yes, you can, Brother Ronan. And if you do, make sure you text me your mailing address as well. I like to reciprocate. Ronan says, I've seen you guys at the Golden Sales Hotel, LOL. Don't leave out B-Bow on the battery. Man, how are we going to leave out B-Bow? B-Bow, B-Bow is one of the classiest, most respectful, spiritual brothers you ever met. Incredibly talented, incredible drummer, perfect attitude, and very, very reliable. I had to carry my drum machine, but it wasn't B-Ball's fault. B-Ball's fault. When I played with other drummers, I had to carry my drum machine in case something went wrong, because a couple of them guys just was like no shows. It's like we're waiting. The gig's got to start. Doggone it. Pull out the drum machine. And the drum machine got us through. Me and Ollie and the drum machine, we rocked the house, doggone it. We rocked the house. We had to. We had no choice. The people were paying for professional service. Enough respect. Let's get that youth. And Ronan says, my nephew loves your books, by the way. Hey, let me get out of here. You guys captured my heart today. What a wonderful experience. We are near the end of the year. Of course, we are in our Kwanzaa season, day 2 of Kwanzaa, Kujichagulia, self-determination. Yesterday was Unity, Umoja. Tomorrow will be Ujima, and that is collective work and responsibility. So Kwanzaa your life. Self-determination is a good thing. It reminds me of our Kujichagulia villages projects, which we ain't done yet. No. We're trying to take them to the next level and start to build these Kujichagulia villages across the motherland, continent, Caribbean, and in parts of the U.S. as well. On that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. You've been tuned into LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. We are the People's Academy. This is where good people reach out for good people and do our best to engage in good people talk, to be kind, to be understanding, empathetic, to be optimistic. And I like being optimistic. Sometimes you might listen to me and say, oh, Keita, you're so pessimistic. And when you tell me that, I appreciate it. Because it's not my intention to be pessimistic. It's my intention to be a role model, to be a responsible contributor to community, to be a steward for the generation to follow. I am because we are. We are LIB Radio. We are LIB TV. We are livinginblack.com. Tell your friends to tell their friends to stay tuned all day long to your LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.